Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to, cut through the noise and get you well informed on some really compelling ideas shaping things today. When you look around,
Hmm.
it's easy to feel a bit overwhelmed, right? This
Yeah.
feeling of polycrisis,
Mm-hmm.
ecological stuff, social fractures, political polarization. It's a lot.
It really is.
And sometimes it feels like modern humanity has kind of lost its way, forgotten how to be in harmony with the intelligence of life itself. Yeah, it can be pretty disheartening.
Absolutely can. And that feeling, that disconnect, that sense of a world, well, out of balance, that's exactly what we're digging into today. But importantly, we're not just going to dwell on the problem.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
Our mission here in this deep dive is to explore a genuinely radical, new way of relating to the world. We're pulling from some, frankly, incredible source material,
Mm.
especially the academic work of Natalie Garcia. It's
It
fascinating.
really is.
She shows how things like ancient wisdom, modern philosophy, and even, get this, a reimagined tarot deck can help us regenerate our connection
Mm.
with the living world.
It's such a powerful framework. And it offers more than just, surprising facts. It gives a practical path for deep self-transformation and for that reconnection to the planet that feels so necessary right now.
Yeah. Think of it as maybe a shortcut, not just to being well-informed, but like genuinely realigned with something. Well, bigger than just us.
Bigger than ourselves.
So, okay, this polycrisis we're feeling,
Mhm.
what's the root cause, according to these sources? Because it can't just be random bad luck, can it?
No, exactly. The source material really points towards a fundamental shift in our worldview. It starts around the Renaissance, maybe, and really solidifies through the Industrial Revolution. This Cartesian, mechanistic way of seeing things took hold.
Right, the idea that separated mind from matter.
And crucially, human from nature.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
suddenly the Earth, which, many cultures saw as alive, as breathing,
Became just an object.
pretty much an inanimate thing, a machine, really.
Yeah,
They're to
so-
be exploited, no real thought about consequences.
It's like we convinced ourselves, okay, we stand outside this system, we can just pull levers, push buttons.
Exactly.
And that, you see, that leads to what some people call the disenchantment of the world. We just lost the magic, the soul in things.
And the contrast with ancestral views is just stark, really stark. Think about the ancient Greeks. They believed in an arche, right? A fundamental principle connecting everything.
Okay.
Or indigenous peoples in the Americas, their worldview often saw the world as animated. Soul wasn't just for humans. It was in mountains, rivers, animals.
Everything had life, a sacredness.
Yes, exactly. A profound value placed on life in all its forms. So if modern thought broke those vital connections,
Then our mission, as the sources put it, is to consciously, actively regenerate them.
precisely.
And regeneration here,
Mm-hmm.
it's not just about, say, biological recovery anymore.
Right.
Like planting trees to regrow a forest. That's sort of the old definition.
Right, that was the limited view. Now it's understood as something much, much deeper. It's about learning from nature's own processes, how it heals, and applying that to heal our systems, ecological, yes, but also social systems.
Okay, so it connects everything. And the key shift in thinking is realizing we are nature.
That's the heart of it. We're not separate. So the fix isn't some external mechanical thing we impose.
Where it can't be.
No. It demands really profound self-transformation. Understanding the solutions are also within us, in how we perceive ourselves in relation to the whole world.
Okay.
And this is important too. We're not trying to predict some rigid, set-in-stone future here.
No, friscal balls.
No, it's more about fostering the condition, the right soil, you could say,
Right.
for a more regenerative future to emerge organically.
It's a subtle difference, but huge. We're not predicting, we're participating.
Participating, co-creating even.
Participating in a different reality, almost.
Yeah.
Which, okay, that brings us to a really fascinating concept from the early 20th century, process philosophy. Our sources highlight Alfred North Whitehead, and he basically said, forget reality being made of fixed, separate things like billiard balls bouncing off each other.
Yes, exactly. Whitehead saw reality as composed of dynamic, interdependent, constantly emerging processes. Think of a river. It's not just a collection of water molecules sitting there, is it?
No, it's flow, constant change.
It's constant flow, always changing, always connecting things. And this just completely breaks from that rigid Cartesian split mind versus matter that we talked about.
And it lines up so well with those older ancestral views, doesn't it? An animated world, everything interconnected, alive, in flux.
Powerfully so.
So if everything is connected and flowing, how does the Earth itself communicate in this picture? Our sources bring in Fabio Scarano's idea, this concept of the language of Gaia, which is inspired by, Lovelock and Margulis's Gaia hypothesis.
Right, the idea of Earth as a living, self-maintaining organism.
Yep.
Scarano pushes that a bit further. He describes Earth as autopoietic, which is a technical term, but it just means self-producing and self-maintaining, like our own bodies are.
Okay.
And Gaia, he suggests, communicates through symbolic interactions, through communicative processes. It's sometimes called biosemiosis or biopoetics.
Life's language.
Basically, yes. How ecosystems actually communicate through signs and symbols, not just human words. Like, think about the bright color of a flower signaling nectar to a bee.
Or the smell of rain coming.
Exactly. That scent tells a whole story. It's this continuous dance, physical and symbolic, that keeps life vital.
So when plants flourish in a certain pattern or animals make these huge migrations, Scarano's saying these aren't just random biological events.
He suggests they're carrying messages from Gaia. It's like a constant, deep dialogue happening all the time among all beings and with the planet itself.
Wow. Okay, and here's where it gets really practical maybe. Our sources say ecological metaphors become the tools to understand this language.
Exactly. Think about metaphors like seeds or roots or life cycles or regeneration itself. These aren't just nice poetic ideas or, abstract concepts.
And more than that.
Much more. They're intuitive pathways, creative ways to access and actually understand Gaia's deep language. They help build that emotional, that symbolic connection with nature. So you don't just intellectually know we're connected, you feel it intuitively.
That deep intuitive grasp that leads us to this next big idea, regenerative anticipation. Scarano talks about it as a process weaving together memory, attention, and imagination. And here's the key part, right? It's not about forcing rigid plans onto the world.
No.
Or trying to predict the future like some psychic.
Far from it. It's really about listening. Listening deeply to the world's own potential, its inherent tendency to become, and then co-authoring with life as it unfolds.
Co-authoring.
Yeah. It's described as a poetic and ontological gesture, a way of being in the world that collaborates with life's processes, responding to its signals instead of just imposing our will.
That sounds a bit like almost knowing something before you know it consciously, like intuition, that deep hunch.
It does connect beautifully, yeah, to Jung's ideas about intuition and also Henri Bergson's concept of durée.
Durée. Remind me.
Bergson saw intuition not just as a quick guess, but as this immediate, deep, experiential knowing, where past, present, and future aren't neatly separated. They kind of interpenetrate continuously.
Ah, right. Like listening to music.
Exactly. Each note carries the echo of the last one and anticipates the next. You can't really pull them apart cleanly. That's durée. So regenerative anticipation becomes a way to tap into what's sometimes called ontological memory.
Ontological memory. Meaning?
Meaning future possibilities aren't just out there somewhere distant. They're already subtly present, latent, vibrating in the present moment.
Like an acorn already holds the potential of the oak tree.
Exactly. Not as a fixed blueprint, maybe, but as a living possibility, ready to emerge when conditions are right. The future isn't waiting out there. It's alive within the present.
Okay, my mind is slightly blown. So if Gaia is this superorganism, as Scarano calls her, then she has her own development, her own capacity for regeneration, consciousness, language. And we actually see these dynamics playing out in nature constantly.
Oh, absolutely. Think about stem cells, for instance. They self-renew, they heal.
Right.
Or that idea of autopoiesis, again, organisms making what they need to maintain themselves. And a really fascinating example is exaptation.
Exaptation.
Yeah, it's when a trait that evolved for one purpose gets repurposed, essentially, for something entirely different later on. Like bird feathers probably evolved first for warmth, right? But then they were exapted for flight.
Okay, so it's flexible adaptation.
Exactly. It's like a built-in anticipation for future changes. It shows nature's incredible inherent wisdom to adapt and transform, always ready for surprises, always innovating.
And these natural processes, they become powerful analogies for how we as humans can act.
Yeah.
Like stem species for Gaia.
Yes, precisely. Regenerating the planet's wounds and our own wounds in the process. Co-creating multiple positive alternatives for planetary well-being.
But okay, this is all great theory. How do we actually do this? How do we put it into practice? And this is where our sources introduce a really tangible tool, the Tarot Regenerativo. Now, straight away, This is not the kind of tarot you might be thinking of. It's not about predicting, who you'll meet next week or if you'll win the lottery.
No, not at all. It's a radically different approach, developed specifically through Natalie Garcia's research. Its purpose isn't prediction. It's about deep listening. It's about reorganizing our perception, helping us tune into those latent potentials, those possibilities we were just discussing.
Tuning in.
Yeah. Each card is seen as a seed image, a symbolic bridge almost between our inner world and the Earth's living processes.
And central to this tarot is a story, a really compelling narrative that Fabio Scarano created about a specific plant called the clusia.
Yes, the clusia. It's an organism from the Brazilian Restinga ecosystem, and its life story is, well, it's profound. It works as this perfect metaphor for transformation.
How so? What's its story?
Well, the clusia starts its life as a strangler, literally. It sprouts on other trees, grows around them, and eventually, well, it kills them to take their place.
Wow. Ruthless competitor.
Pretty much, yeah. But then something shifts. Often, its seeds get carried by birds to new areas, maybe more challenging environments like sandy coastal plains. And there, it adapts, it evolves, it transforms from being a strangler into becoming a facilitator, a regenerator.
How does it do that?
Instead of just competing and preying, it starts creating conditions that help other species thrive. It provides shade, moisture, nutrients in harsh environments. It becomes this pillar of life, literally shaping the landscape, making it habitable for others.
So it goes from taking life to enabling life. It becomes a stem species for Gaia in that ecosystem.
Exactly. And that biological story becomes the central metaphor for our own transformation, personal and collective. It maps that journey from, say, predation and competition towards interdependence and cooperation.
From acting out of unconscious, maybe self-sabotaging patterns,
Yeah,
towards self-awareness and genuinely life-affirming action.
precisely. It's a powerful narrative arc.
And the Tarot Regenerativo deck itself has 22 major arcana cards, right? And each one embodies one of these living ecological metaphors, reflecting parts of the clusia's journey or broader regenerative ideas.
That's right. They provide this rich symbolic language to help us explore our own inner landscapes, our own journeys.
Okay, let's make this concrete. Give us a few examples, because this is where you see how the tool actually functions, right? Card 0, for instance. Sombra Oculta, hidden shadow.
Right. So this card depicts the clusia in its strangler phase. It symbolizes those unconscious patterns, maybe self-sabotaging habits or beliefs we all have. But crucially, it doesn't predict doom. It asks you a question, a prompt for reflection. What needs to be brought to light?
So it's about illumination, not prediction. Recognizing what might be holding you back from your own regeneration.
Exactly. Bringing the unconscious into conscious awareness.
Okay, then there's card 1, self, which links to autopoiesis, that self-organizing idea.
Yes. Here, the clusia is beginning its self-transformation journey. It symbolizes that innate drive within each of us to regenerate, to heal, to grow. And the question it poses is, what vitalizes your impulse for regeneration?
Ah, so it nudges you to connect with what truly nourishes you, what aligns your actions with your well-being, and, by extension, the planet's.
Precisely that. What practices, what choices feed that vital spark?
Okay, let's jump ahead. Card 11, O Salto, the leap. This sounds pivotal. The clusia breaking its old pattern, representing biological anticipation.
It is pivotal. It symbolizes integrating opposing forces within ourselves, like conscious and unconscious, maybe masculine and feminine energies, shadowed light, finding balance for wise action.
Integrating opposites.
Yeah. And the card asks directly, how can we integrate conflicting forces within ourselves? It's a powerful prompt for moving beyond old habits, old dualities that no longer serve our growth or the world's.
Makes sense. And the culmination, card 21, Regenerator, the clusia fully realized as that stem species, that pillar of life. This sounds like the goal state.
It really does represent that, the full realization of potential. Deep harmony with the whole, what gets called Mind Gaia, Mother Gaia, or Anima Mundi, the world's soul.
And its question.
It encourages reflection on how can we realize our maximum potential and contribute to the regeneration of the world. It's an invitation to think about our legacy, our unique contribution to the larger web of life.
So when you actually use this tarot, it's really an intuitive exercise, a reflective practice. You use these questions to spark your own imagination, make sense of things.
Yes, exactly. It's described as hermeneutic about interpretation and meaning-making. You're tuning into your inner wisdom, making sense of your experiences, and anticipating, maybe even co-creating regenerative futures for yourself and your communities.
And you mentioned earlier the randomness of picking a card can lead to these synchronistic moments.
That's a really fascinating aspect, where the symbol or metaphor on the card you draw seems to resonate with uncanny, unexpected relevance to your situation. It feels less like pure chance and more like, well, like the universe offering a meaningful insight, a nudge in the right direction.
Ah, synchronicity. That brings Carl Jung into the picture. That's his concept, right? Meaningful coincidences.
That's right. Events linked not by cause and effect, but by a shared meaning, a deeper resonance. Jung saw mind and matter not as totally separate, but as complementary aspects of one underlying reality. And that idea really underpins how the Tarot Regenerativo is thought to work. Those symbols, randomly chosen, can act as catalysts. They spark new perceptions, new understandings within you, helping unlock insights you might not have reached through purely logical thinking.
And the whole practice, it aims to activate and strengthen what the sources call the three I's: intuition, imagination, and insight.
Exactly. These faculties are seen as essential for any real transformation, for deeper self-knowledge,
Mhm.
tapping into those non-rational yet powerful ways of knowing.
And zooming out, this entire approach, this body of work, it positions design itself differently, doesn't it? Not just as, solving technical problems.
No, much broader. It sees design as a profound world-building practice.
World building.
Yeah, about consciously regenerating the relationships between humans and their ecosystems. It's about fostering dialogue, raising awareness, helping bring forth new stories, new narratives for realities that are more plural, more just, and truly serve all of life.
So using the Terra Regenerativo in this context, it almost becomes a kind of contemporary ritual.
That's a great way to put it, yes. A marked moment set aside in time and space, using this symbolic language to connect with deeper values, reinforce regenerative beliefs, and help orient our lives towards positive action.
A conscious choice to engage with these patterns, to
Yeah.
rebuild that connection we felt was lost.
It really is. Much like ancient rituals gave meaning and structure, this offers a voluntary contemporary way to do something similar, to help re-enchant our relationship with life in these complex times.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this deep dive up. The core message seems to be that this Tarot Regenerativo provides a really unique symbolic framework, a compass almost,
Yeah.
to navigate the complexities, the crises we face. And it does this by weaving together ancient wisdom, modern process philosophy, and nature's own inherent regenerative patterns.
Helping us remember fundamentally that we are nature and that we have this incredible capacity to co-create a flourishing world. And that leads us maybe to a final thought for you, the listener, to ponder. If regeneration is truly a fundamental principle always operating throughout all living systems, then how can you, right now, in your own life, in your communities, how can you consciously tune in to that deeper regenerative formal cause, as Aristotle might have called it?
How can you actively co-create a future that really flourishes in harmony with the living earth?
Yeah.
And maybe as you go about your day after listening, just consider which ecological metaphor we talked about: the seed, the roots, the leap, the regenerator. Which one resonated most deeply with your own journey of self-transformation right now? Something to explore. We invite you to think about that connection.